Well, hello, hello. It is Discovery Monkey Labs, Lynx and Brendan.
We're filming this podcast from Northern California.
How you guys doing?
Um, Today, we wanted to talk about group dynamics and what goes on with a group and how a lot of people work in groups, in group settings.
Well, you have a group setting coming up, don't you?
Yeah, I'm working, well, all the time actually. We're always working with groups, corporate groups, families. So we wanted to talk about some of the things that I don't think, and I talked to you about this. I said, I don't think people really talk about what goes on in groups and how things have to happen with groups. How
what
far
is
to get into
the
this?
elevator 1 or maybe 30-second
This is a good way to do it.
gist of what you're trying to get across here?
That's a good way to do it. Their reality is built in a series of trances, or what we call trance stacks. Okay, so everything in your world is a series of trances, and you either, if it fits into your trance, you can access it. If it doesn't fit into your trances, you bounce it off. Within a group dynamic, there is this group trance that happens, and then there are individual trances that happen within the group dynamic. So when a group is not working, it's usually because they're not all aligned to the group trance. So how's that for 30 seconds?
I think, so if I'm understanding you correctly, there's two different kind of levels then?
Yeah, because there could be many. It depends on how many people are in the group, right? So if there's 15 people within the group, there are 15 different levels of their trances, depending upon what's going on at the time too, because they shift during the course of the day. And then there's a group thing too. And so we can talk about it in terms of corporate, but I want to illustrate my point in terms of what a trance. This was the best thing when I first realized this, okay? I had read, when I was first studying hypnosis, I had read something about people who were in a trance where they believed that things couldn't change for themselves, or they were in a sort of lacking mentality. They would miss opportunities. They literally couldn't see the opportunity, okay? So the best story that I can tell about this is what happened twice. Did I say this in another one? When people believe that there isn't enough, they may miss the opportunity for there to be something that's right in front of them that could give them what they need. So I had an experience where I was walking in a mall, and I was with someone who was always believing there wasn't enough, and someone dropped a bunch of 20s. I mean, I was like, literally, there was a whole bunch, it was like at a holidays or something, there was a whole bunch of people there, and a bunch of 20s went falling in front of me, and I was like, who dropped their money? Did anyone drop their money? And no one, I'm like, and I'm picking it up, and I'm like, did someone drop that? And no one would even look at me. It's like they did, like it's like I wasn't there. And I was like,
they're all focused elsewhere.
Yeah, I think they were focused on, they wanted to buy, they wanted whatever, and they missed it. And I had all these 20s, and I was like, okay. And then so no one even, they all kept going, and I was like, okay. So I had this bunch of 20s. And then there was another time where I was walking down the street in Chicago with someone who never had enough. He always believed that there wasn't enough. There wasn't enough for the bills. It wasn't enough. He was I need more money.
So
I need more money.
lacking mindset.
It was a lacking mindset, which was his trance, right? The trance was it wasn't enough. And we're walking down the street, and I ended up walking behind him a few feet, and he stepped on a wad of money, just money, like on this, not a wallet, a wad of money. And I bent down and I unrolled. It was like several $100.
I had the same thing happen at a concert, and someone who was with me, I was with a couple friends, and I just stepped on. It was only like maybe a couple bills, like 100 or
yeah,
so.
It was several $100. Yeah, it was like I think it was like $400.
Just unaware. Everyone was unaware of,
right?
Yeah.
So I'm counting it, and he turns around and he goes, "What is that?" I'm like, "It's money. You just stepped on it." And he's like, "Well, you're just lucky." He's like, you're just lucky. But the thing is I wasn't in a place of believing that there wasn't enough, and I believed there was possibility. So in the one case, the trance was, people I think were so focused on buying more that they couldn't see the opportunity that was there. There was like, someone couldn't see that they lost, and the other people couldn't see it. And then the other one, he was so focused on there isn't enough, so he couldn't see it when it showed up. So
So when it comes to groups of people, like when we got, maybe 5 to 10, maybe in a group setting, how do people care about that which is like, if they're not seeing that they're stepping on an opportunity right in front of them, how does that relate to, how can those people get to that point where they see an opportunity?
Well, let's talk about. I want to fully illustrate this more so people get the dynamic I'm talking about, and I want to use an extreme example, okay? Because the extreme example, I think, you could see it usually in the extremes. So if you look at stage hypnotists, okay, that work with groups, you will see, if you go to one of those shows in Vegas, there's some really good hypnotists there. And then I like to talk about, I always liked Kreskin growing up. Kreskin, I don't know if you know who Kreskin was, but if you guys don't know who Kreskin was, he was this famous hypnotist. And he would do group stuff, and he would do stuff. He was very famous, and he would go on TV, and I once saw him go on TV and walk into a room and tell a bunch of guys that their legs were falling out from under them, and they couldn't stand, and they went to their knees, and they fell in front of him, and they go like, I don't know what he did. He just, so there was this group dynamic going on where he was telling everyone they had no strength in their legs, and their legs fell out from under them, okay? So there was a group belief there. There was a group trance that this guy had the power to make them lose the strength in their legs, and they all lost the strength in their legs. Okay? Now, what people don't know is that there's stuff that goes on behind the scenes with this, and this is going to get to what you're asking me about. So let's say you got a group, a corporation, and they've all got a goal. Okay? So you've got this group trance. We're the corporation, we all work here, we all have our roles, right? So each one has an individual trance.
Or department,
So you got the department, right? That's like a trance. Because this stuff doesn't really exist in real life. We make it. We say it exists, right? So we're saying, okay, we're forming this department, and then you've got team leaders, you've got managers, you've got departments, okay? So all this stuff comes together, and you've got this group, and they're working towards a goal. Okay, so within that, everyone has their individual stuff going on as well. Well, my role is this, and I do this, this, and this. Okay, but then they've got other stuff going on. Well, I have a family. Well, I have this. All this other stuff is going on too. So depending upon where their focus is, will help determine whether or not the group can be successful. Does what they understand their role is fit into the group trance? So let me go back to the stage hypnotists here.
It does in terms of talent and learning and development objectives. They have teams that have aligned bigger objectives. So like at the leadership level, they have really, really high goals. They're not very specific goals, but they're very high level. But then as it gets down to, say, like senior, like director or VP level, then director, then manager, then specialist or analysts, they all have, it digs deeper into the detail and the levels of the goals, or they change depending on what level. I understand that.
Yes. So what you're talking about is, if they've got these bigger goals at the higher level, well, these high level guys, and we do this when we work with them, we see these high level guys, they've got and you're right, so maybe they're not as defined as some of the lower ones. But if the lower ones are believing or understanding the definition or the trance differently from what the higher guys are going, I want this, this, and this, and the lower guys are going, well, I want to get my bonus. And then the higher guys are like, well, I want to expand the company, I want to move forward, I want to be CEO, right? And these guys are just like, I want to get my bonus, right? Does it align? Or is there a common ground where the two can work together? Okay,
and translating that into value.
You see, so the trance has to align. So when we work with groups, we have to work first. We take a stab at aligning the group first, right? Then we work with individuals to make sure that the individuals are aligning with the group, and then we come back with the group again with what we've put into place, and then we have it all aligned together. And now this is how it translates in an extreme example where people can understand with stage hypnotists. So what people don't understand is a lot of time what happens, especially when you see a stage hypnotist on TV, they'll get a group of people together and they'll hypnotize them, they'll put them in trance, and then they'll start getting them to do all these different things. Okay, so like this one thinks they're a singer, they get them to sleep. But what they don't understand is what they've taken the individuals first, and they've worked with them individually to set what we call anchors so that they can't sleep. So when they go, when I say sleep, you're going to go deep, and then they, right? And then they say, well, when you wake, you're going to feel that you're a stripper, or you're going to feel that you're, a singer, or you're going to feel whatever. And then they start to form. Or every time someone whistles, you're going to take your shoe off, So they work individually to align them to the group, which is the performance that they're showing either on stage
for whatever's necessary.
Right? And then they bring them into the group, and then they set what we call the anchors, and then they fire the anchors, and then everything comes together, and it looks like it's beautiful. It's like you've got this whole bunch of people working beautifully together to create this entertainment. But the same principle works. I hope this is not getting. Am I getting too?
No, I mean TV. I think people.
Am I getting too complicated? TV. Yeah, that's why I'm using the example of because a lot of people have experience seeing stage hypnotists, and if not, go watch some stage hypnotists. You'll see this. Okay, but the same thing happens with the group then. So you've got these individuals who are they're like, I just want to make my paycheck. And then the other ones are like, well, I'm the manager and I want to get my bonus from my team.
I have to worry about my people being paid. Yes. I have to worry about,
Yes, and then the other ones are like, okay, well, they're taking care of that. I'm focusing on the bigger goals because I need to, because when the higher up, they need to be focusing on the bigger goals, the expansion, and so each one has their goals. But when we go into work with the group, we go, okay, this is the individual, but there's certain things we could set in place so that it works together and in harmony with the bigger group as well. So we'll go in, we'll work on aligning the group in an initial session or sessions, and then we do the individual stuff, and we set what we call anchors to help them all sort of smoothly work together. And then we come back together with the group again, and then once those are set, we align it all together so they're all headed for the purpose. So this could happen with a family. You got a family, it's got 4 people, right? The parents want this, and this to happen, but the kids want this to happen, this to happen. Well, what's the goal of the family? Do they want to work together in unity and harmony? Well, then you have to all kind of understand what the goal is to work together. Well, we want to respect mom and dad, and the kids want to feel respected.
Do you mind cleaning up? Okay, and it's all about what people want to do too. So there's this, I guess, kind of this underlying thing where if people are enthused and empowered to do something, they'll do it because they like doing it. They have passion to do it, and then it just kind of ends up working out to where it's not just who wants to do this, and then no one raises their hand. It's like, well, it's because you haven't found their passion. So what we do also is kind of help people find what they want to do and kind of align them to doing that. But I guess it's not really. I'm not really sure if that fits in with.
No, actually, I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that, because that's the next thing I wanted to talk about. Because what happens is
engagement's a big.
So now the reason I'm telling people this and we're doing this is because I want people to be aware that when group dynamics happen, there's a lot more going on than people think. And people are always coming to us and going, well, why is my group not congealing or working together or coming together? Okay? And so we want people to be aware that there's a lot more going on in group dynamics than people, than all of us sitting down and saying, well, this is what we're defining as this, and you all live by it. And that's, So, but what you just said, I'm really glad you brought up what you just said, because what does happen sometimes is people will come to us and they'll say, we want you to hypnotize everyone and force everyone to do this and be this and do what we say. And that's not it.
No.
What has to happen in a group setting and what will make a group setting work is the point that you just brought up. Is a person coming from their passion and their best selves to be able to contribute to the whole goal in a harmonious way? So if you can help someone bring out those harmonious things and have them fit into the larger group goal and have that all defined and in harmony, that's when it works to the best. Because then the person is doing it because they want to do it, because they're, like you said, they're feeling passionate and feeling fulfilled. And there's, meaning and relevance.
And it moves the whole boat forward. It's kind of like you could use a boat. It's like we have an analogy that we've talked about. I think we talked about in an earlier episode. When people are whitewater rafting and trying to hold on really tightly to the raft will just toss them right out. But there's different jobs of people on that raft. Some of them could be trying to steer your boat left and right. Some people could be trying to push it so that you go forward. There's some people that may want to kind of retreat and be like, well, this is not the time to move forward. We need to retreat. So that's more of a strategic person, right? The person that goes, okay, we're going too hard right now. If we keep going this hard, we're going to burn out at a certain point. So there's all these different tasks that everyone can do on the team that contribute to moving you forward. But I guess it's up to the leaders, the people above, to kind of assess what are our key performance metrics or indications or indicators here that we could set to make sure that we're still growing but moving forward to the bigger objectives. That's where performance management comes in a company. Are the company's key performance metrics getting to you to the point where you're realizing the benefits that you're achieving your objectives? That's where HR kind of comes in. A lot of that is outsourced to other companies and professionals, but I think where we add value is, are you realizing your goals here, or are you just having it on paper and saying?
Well, I don't even want to go. I just want to get people to understand there's more to group dynamics. I mean, there's more to group dynamics. If it's a family, people come together for a reason, and I see this all the time in families. There's a reason, and I don't want to get too out there woo-woo, but it's true. I mean, they come together for a reason. It's because the mother and the daughter have something to learn from each other. There's a reason they're together, and if the mother is not acknowledging the daughter's talents and what she has to bring to the relationship, because she's actually teaching the mother something. And vice versa. I work with people all the time. They're in relationships and they're like, well, there's something going on in my relationship with my boyfriend or my girlfriend or whatever, and it's not working. And I go, well, why did you come together to begin with? What were you teaching each other? And they'll go, well, he teaches me to be more organized and she teaches me to have more fun. Then stop trying to control the fact that she's more spontaneous, because that's why she's in your life, to teach you to be more spontaneous, because you're so rigid that that's a good compliment, right? Sometimes people come together because their destructive habits are trying to show each other this is not the way, so, and this goes all back to what I was saying about trances. Whenever people come together, there's these different trances that are working, and if they're aligned together and in unity and working towards something together, there's production and creativity. When they're not, it gets destructive. Mm-hmm. So to go back to your analogy about the boat, if there's a whole bunch of people on a boat and we're like, we need everyone to do something, and there's people in the back drinking, going, we don't care, and we want to sabotage this because we want to see everyone fall off the boat because it would be funny, then the people in the front are going, well, we would like the boat to go this way and do this. Mm-hmm. There's different trances there going on, and they're going to conflict, and they're going to create an outcome.
It's just going to be counterproductive. maybe,
which
is a good word to...
Yeah, which I'm going to say these days I watch people come together for all sorts of reasons, and some people do come together to be counterproductive. That's
because all the work that was put in people are assets, right? People are invested in, and when that investment gets sabotaged, it's like, well, we had these two people over here, the troublemakers, throwing rocks from the back.
But why are the troublemakers there? Is it because the troublemakers are not feeling that part? That's why what you said earlier was so important in group dynamics. There's something that, I did a lot of work on this when I started studying the mind and how the mind really works on relevance and how relevance affects the way that a person's makeup comes together. I mean, I did a lot of work on this, and I looked at how relevance plays into context process, mind control, and what in a person's makeup relevance has to do with it. So if a person is not feeling relevant in relation to how they built their own personality and how they built the way they plug in to the world, if there's no relevance for it, they're probably going to feel like they don't belong. They're probably going to feel loneliness. They're probably going to feel sadness. They're probably going to feel destructive.
Yeah.
They may want to be destructive. And it depends how they built the way they plug into the world. Because some people, when they don't feel relevant, will be destructive. And you have to help people come out of that place where they're not feeling relevant to become truly relevant, and not just lip service to relevant, not just this, people like to say right now, I'm coming out of my authentic whatever, and I'm like, do you know really how your world is built and what makes you feel relevant? If you don't know that, then this thing that you're calling authenticity, you're never going to feel. So there's a lot of speak that goes on right now.
Yeah, a lot of parroting, I think, and what they've heard on a podcast, but they haven't experienced it directly.
Yeah,
in a sense.
Yeah, and so this is I'm trying to give some. That's why I was hoping this wouldn't get too complicated.
Well, just to sum it up, so you're saying
sum up.
There are different people have different trances that plug into the bigger trance of the company trance. Is that,
or the family, or whatever the group dynamic,
okay.
even groups of friends. So there's the groups of friends that maybe they feel like they're on the outs, or there's a family and someone feels like they don't belong. There's a relevance thing that's missing in there, but how they built their trances. Okay? So in some cases, all you need to do, what you need to do is you need to help a person get a bigger view of how relevant they are. A lot of times someone will have just a really small way that they plug in to the world around them because they feel they don't have the confidence or they don't have the skills to be able to plug in a bigger way. And so they feel that their capacity is really small. And I work with people all the time that have this problem. They don't feel like they're capable of this, and this. But then when you start to help them to see and develop their skills to bigger, they start to become more relevant. They can plug into bigger things. So
how does, and maybe this is a rabbit hole, but maybe in future episodes we can explain, how do people get more experience then so they can understand?
Through doing. And it probably is
what their
probably
trance
is
its
or
own.
What the company
that
probably is its own. One thing I
used
know
to do job shadowing. I think that was a cool thing because you could see from another person's perspective what they do on a daily basis. You could see how they do their business, or you could see what they do for their job. That was a good way of taking yourself out of it. But we could do. I could talk forever on that. But it was cool if you could see how other people do their jobs. You could see from a different perspective. That helped not get so mired down into, well, this is just my job, and I only monitor this mailbox, and I reply to these emails. Okay, so this is a good point. That's all I do every day. I close out tickets. We were just working with someone in an IT support role. She's on the call. She's in a call center essentially, or she takes tickets for her work, and that's just the interaction she gets with her clients is very working. She starts work in progress, and then the ticket's closed, and then she's waiting for the next ticket. And it's a very repetitive thing that she does. So she may not have the view of someone else who's.
Well, she's actually in a position where she's feeling right now that she's not being creative, and the repetitive actions and the repetitive habits every day have stopped her from feeling like she can plug into certain things that she used to do. And when I asked her to do, I said, okay, let's try this creativity exercise. We did a creativity exercise, and her response was very, very limited to what she does all day long because she's gotten in the habit of viewing things that way. So when we shifted it and said, well, what happens if you come from a different perspective? And she literally had to shift and become more playful. She started to open up. She started to laugh.
She looked like she was. I didn't like it. She looked like she was. She looked like she was open. She opened up. She became more color in her face. It looked like it was like a younger her. I don't want to sound woo-woo here. Yeah, no, but I mean, it was like the younger her came out.
Okay, you know what? I'm going to tell you something that I wish people could see, and I want to sum up. But I'm going to say this. When I've worked with people in hypnosis, when they've been in a deeper sense where they're talking to their subconscious, I wish people could see themselves like that. Because the stress fades away. The stress fades away. They completely relax and they look younger. They always look younger, and you can see who they were at a different point in their life where maybe the stresses of the world weren't on them, and you go, oh my God, if you could see yourself right now. They always look younger. They always look. It's just amazing to see. Like, and then when you bring them out, their color is different. They look like a completely different person. And then, but the stresses of the world and the stuff that people plug into this other trance that you have to have this, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. You don't have to do anything. Everything is made up. We make up everything. Well, the world says you have to do this.
It's a scary thing, but it could also be a very freeing thing too.
Because you can make a life where you can be whomever you choose, and that's how I want to sum up.
That's where you can plug in to whatever it is that you're doing or the same, but you plug in differently. Does that make sense?
So, in a group setting, there is a group trance, and the trick to getting a group to work, if you want a group to work, is to make sure that the individuals are aligned and in harmony with the group, whatever the group goal is, the group trance, the group focus.
And you can change that at any time, or you can make that happen at any time.
Yeah, you can. Sometimes it's just making it bigger, sometimes it's making it smaller, sometimes it's adding something, sometimes it's giving more experience, like you said. And the shadowing thing may have worked for you, whereas someone else may go, that doesn't work for me. I need to get in and do it. Mm-hmm. Or someone's like, I need to listen to different stories of how people have done it. Or I need to
go do this module over here.
It depends on how they learn, but that's plugged into how they plug into the world as well too. So to sum up, what's the bigger focus? Unique. So think about this. Like if you think about a stage hypnotist, the stage hypnotist says, I want you to focus on this. And then you focus on the relaxation, you focus. He's directing their focus at all times. And then you've got a group focus, which is everyone's on stage, part of the show. And then you've got these individual focuses where he's got this person over there waiting for a bell to ring, and then he does something So focus has to align with the bigger focus. I guess it's the best way I hopefully can say it, and I hope it's clear.
Everyone's attention gets focused.
Their attention gets focused. Okay. So where is the attention? So if the attention is, hey, look, we're focused on this goal, but this person over here is like, I'm afraid I'm going to lose my job. That's not aligned to it. It's going to cause. Or the person is in a conflict with someone else in the group. Mm-hmm. Their focus may be on the conflict, and they're like, okay, we need you two to work together. They're like, I'm not working with this person because I don't like this person. You see, so if you can shift that and give them another focus so that that's not the problem anymore, and then they have a different interaction with that person and a different sense of that person.
Resolution.
But again, or it could just be, it could be as simple as they see the other person in a silly light, not like a threat anymore. It's so. There's all sorts of ways you do it, and it depends on the individual and what their personal way of plugging into the world is.
We're getting to the 30-minute mark. We hope this was very valuable to you, and we hope that you look at future episodes on our podcast.
And if you have any questions about group stuff or any of this, and you'd like me to go in, or us, or Brendan to go into, or me to go into, because we both have different experiences with this, and we both have experiences together with this. So if you heard something that Brendan said, and you're like, hey, could you expand on that? Or you heard something I said, and hey, you can expand it, or something, whatever. Let us know. We'll do another one on it. We'll expand on it. And so we're wishing you success in your group dynamics, and we'll see you in the next.
We'll see you in the next one.
In the next one.